I'm with Coach Dave Miller, and we are already halfway through the regular season for football.
Yep.
Or we will be.
Hard to believe.
Let's talk about the Centerville game first. Another nail biter. This time, Fairmont comes out on top. Your impression of the special teams? The game-winning field goal, which was a 32-yarder at the gun by Craney, might seem routine, but the circumstances made it tough.
Definitely. Once again, we kind of continue to put ourselves in situations where it has to come down to the final gun. Again, no offense to anybody here. There was a lot of self-inflicted wounds there. That fourth quarter was a debacle. But to credit our kids, they came to play. We had a really good week of practice. I think their focus was as good as I've seen it, definitely this year and for a while going into the game. And they just, I think there was a belief that what hadn't been there, that they were going to get it done. Unfortunately for us, we dodged some bullets for sure. But yeah, it's first three quarters we were playing Fairmont football. That was good stuff. Making them earn it on defense. We finished drives with into the first half. Kind of a duplicate of what we did at the end of the game as well. Getting that field goal, those were big. We go in 10-0. That's great for us. We're getting the ball coming out. So really 3 quarters, pretty good. A lot to build on, but we got to do better.
Then Thornton has been so valuable on kick returns. Had a 49-yarder in this game. A lot of people only pay attention to the runner, but what are your thoughts on the blocking that set that up?
Well, the special teams, you mentioned it. I mean, we had a pretty good night, I think, overall. I honestly, I don't fault us as much or fault our players as much on special teams. That was a lot of that was coaching. We did not do a very good job, and we talked about it as a coaching staff, and I'm not afraid to take blame when it's due, and we did not do a good job. Now, but that said, I think the kicking game has been strong for us. Our kickoff return, it's definitely a weapon. Guys are doing a good job, getting on their blocks, and we've got that, I think, going the right direction. We've got to continue to get better on there too. But that's great. When you can get that kind of field position, that helps a lot.
Shafiq may have had only 2 punts on the night. We haven't mentioned him this year. He put 1 punt inside the Centerville 5. What drill do you have him do in practice to lead to the success he had on Friday night?
I'll be honest with both those guys, Craney and Shafiq. They put a lot of work in. With Coach Gantz, they do a lot of extra work. It's not surprising that those guys are producing because they've done the extras. Every time you see them, they're out there 3 days a week outside of our practice. At least going out there working on their craft, and it shows. It's no real drills. I mean, they're just doing what they do. Shafiq has had a heck of a year already as our punter, and he's our extra point kicker too. Same thing with Cole Craney. He's 100% on field goals, and that's a lot of hard work and preparation. But along with that, like you mentioned with the KOR team, the other guys are doing their job, and giving Shafiq time, and same thing with our field goal PAT team. They're doing their jobs as well to help those guys, protect them. And our holder, Brett Hilty, he's as good as I've ever had. That kid does things that, you don't see, but some of those snaps are not always perfect. And our snappers do a good job too. Braden Feltner and Kyson Hammond, for both PAT and punt. They do a really nice job, but Brett, that was a high snap Friday, and he got it down for the winning field goal. He's a baseball player, and you can see some of the skills coming into play there, multi-sport athlete, so, it's all good, and we got to continue to get better on it, but, so far that's been a bright spot.
How did you feel about the defense, at the end, holding Centerville to a field goal that tied the game at 17, after this giving up 2 fourth-quarter touchdowns?
Well, I think the same thing. I think they had 60 snaps, against them. We had 40, 48 plays or something like that. So they definitely have more plays. 32 of those plays came in the fourth quarter. So we did, like I said, there was a lot of self-inflicted wounds there. Our substitutions were not good. I blame us as coaches for that. And there were times that one of our big things is make them earn it, and we did not make them earn it in the fourth quarter. Up until that time, I think our defense played really well. That was one of our best performances of the year for the first three quarters. Once we got into the fourth, we have things we got to work on. You could see a vast difference on how we played the fourth quarter versus the third or previous three. Part of that is you're on the field the whole time, and we only had 3 snaps on offense. Part of that was, we went 3 and out. I had a good punch. Feet got him down there inside the 20 again. And then we give up an onside kick, which probably one of our worst special teams plays of the night. Again, coaching comes into that. So, we were fortunate, I'll be honest, that, an errant snap. But that's part of our MO. We try to make the opponent earn it, and we did a fairly good job of that. They got down there, and on that third down, that was huge, that snap was errant. And then Nathan Lamberth made a nice play going in and sacking the quarterback, which forced him into a field goal. That was big. They score a touchdown. That's a whole different dynamic. I have faith in us, but that gets a lot harder. So anyway, it worked out. It was a great win. I think our guys, like I said, they came to play, and the preparation they put in, I think it bared fruit for them. They could see it. So got to carry that on.
J.J. Hill at quarterback seems to gain confidence every week with accurate passing in traffic. What do you see in him on the game-winning drive with only 1 minute left?
Well, that's a guy that's paid his dues. I mean, he's a starter as a senior. Not the most gifted passer per se, but he's a winner. The kid gets things done, and just infectious. The kids love him. Players really look up to him. We've got good quarterbacks. I mean, I think we could play. I swear to you, we practice 4 or 3 of them. They're rotating like every 4 plays, including JJ. But Brett Helty and Reagan Hefner, can step in there at any time. We've got a nice freshman, Theo Van Handorf, who's going to be really good too. So our quarterbacks are really smart. JJ in particular, I mean, he's an IB student, very intelligent, and just a winner. He just gets things done, and he's paid his dues. I mean, the guy has, been behind Brock Baker, and now it's his time, and he's done a great job this year, as a leader, and just, in-game performance, but also what he does for our team that you don't see is pretty amazing, and the kids trust him. That's a big part of being quarterback. If they trust you to do your job, and they'll follow you, and he's executed the 2-minute drill the last 2 weeks pretty well. So hopefully we don't have to rely on it, but if we do, it's there. So that's good, I guess.
Defensively, one name we haven't mentioned this year is junior Demetrius Wynn, who had 8 solo tackles and 14 total tackles. What makes him so dominant?
Well, he's a good athlete. He's honestly, he's a good running back, and he was playing running back up until really, I think, right before week 1. We moved him over to defense, and he's a runner. Like I always tell our defensive coaches, don't get too comfortable over there because we're going to steal him back at some point. But he's done a good job. He can move in space really well. He's still continuing to learn. Made some mistakes, but he makes up for it with his speed. A good tackler in space. So yeah, he's been a real bright spot. Going over there to defense, and has definitely helped us out there for sure.
Okay, so far, after 3 tough defeats, to get a win in such a dramatic fashion, how did that affect the mood at practice this week?
Well, I think I saw it last Saturday. We talked a lot about it. They came in after that LaSalle loss, and you could tell something was different Saturday morning. It was way more player-led. One of our goals is accountability plus. That means they hold themselves accountable, each other, and then you're willing to be held accountable. And I saw it that morning. They were kind of done with losing. I think it's the best way to describe it. It's like they just made their mind up. We're not doing it that way anymore. And it was a difference last week. We grade ourselves on our process, and they gave themselves an A-, B+ for the process, and I agreed with them. Not that everything was flawless, but I think it's become more player-led. The thing now is there can't be any letdowns. It's got to continue. They talk about it, not good enough. We got to up the ante, but, they're kids. So my job is to kind of remind them that this is what you've said, and, let's make sure we're doing that. But I just think there's a different mood right now. And that was, huge wind in the sails. Again, it's outcomes. We talk about it all the time, but there's human nature. It's like when you're 0-3, even though those were all, within a minute, they're legitimately. We have 2 1-point losses that come down to a 2-point conversion in both games against a really good Trotwood team and a really good LaSalle team. And that first week, all 3 of those teams are phenomenal. But I think getting the win was huge. I mean, there's no doubt. If anything, they look at their process and say, okay, yes, this is how we have to do it, so we can give ourselves our best chance going into Friday night and hope the outcomes come in our favor.
Okay, now let's take a look at Wayne. So this week it is Wayne. They're averaging a league, if I can say that right, league leading 33 points per game. Sophomore Kyle Graham is already over 1,000 yards passing this year. What do you see on film regarding Graham?
They're scary. I mean, they're just loaded. I mean, they got a kid that's getting recruited by Ohio State. He's a junior, 100-meter champion, 10.4. In our state, that's moving. So, they've got him and several other guys that can run, including Graham. I mean, he's a good runner too. A good passer. He's getting better. He's a sophomore. But got hurt as a freshman. Came in. Their senior last year was phenomenal too, but he comes in against Pick Central, and I think they beat him last year. I can't remember, but he got hurt in that game, and that derailed them. I mean, that was tough. They had until they got their starter back. He came back also. Graham did as a freshman and got some time, but he's really good and he's going to be special. Already is. So, and then they've got Thompson at running back. I mean, it's and a good line up front. So, our defense, it's a huge challenge, for them. And they're good on defense too. Maybe they're not structured as much against us, but they can move. I mean, they just have kids that can run, and Coach Mukes does a good job getting them in the right positions and, where they can make plays. So you hold your breath every time they're on offense and they've got the ball. So our job is to try to minimize that as much as we can. Just do our philosophy, and hopefully we do it well enough, so.
How about the running back, Isaiah Thompson, 164 yards last week against Springboro? How do you contain him?
Yeah. Again, with all of them, it's a matter of we have to just slow them down if that's even possible. They're gonna get yards. I mean, it's going to be. We have to do what we do, which is make them earn it. Last week against Springboro, they did not have a play for a touchdown that was less than 34 yards, and I think the max was like 82. So if we do that, that's not going to work. We cannot give them big plays. And what I mean by that is 34-yard touchdowns, things like that. We have to try to minimize that. If we can get them to move down the field and do what we do on offense where we can control the clock, then we've got a shot. If we try to do it any other way, not going to work. So they're just explosive and good. That's a challenge. I think our kids are ready for it, but it's going to be interesting.
Okay, and final question for you. Your impressions on the wide receiver tandem of Stroff and Everett Brown?
Fastest duo in the state. They were state champs in track, and they did it going away. I mean, it was like by 30 points. It was ridiculous. And half those guys play football, including the 2 that you mentioned. So it's like you hold your breath, and just hope that the key is we have to rally to the football. That you nullify speed with keeping everything in front of you, easier said than done. And then, once the ball's thrown or they hand off, whatever, the quarterback can beat you too. You have to get more guys there than one. You try to go one-on-one with them, that's not going to work. So we need to get, a lot of Firebirds to the ball. If we can do that, we can at least try to slow them down. Like I said, they're going to get their yards, and we just have to make sure we rally and tackle them. And, that's easier said than done. So and those are college guys when you think about it. I mean, the 10-4 and the 100, I mean, that's just blinding speed. So, but, you know, it's why we do what we do. You know, if we're going to go out there and try to throw the ball over the place and get incompletions, you're giving them more time. You know, so what we can throw, obviously, we've shown that, but our philosophy comes into play against teams like this. So that's why we do it.
All right, Coach. Well, again, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today, and good luck on Friday.
Thank you. Appreciate it.